to another episode of Carpool. This week's passenger, very interesting woman. I've never met her. I follow her on Twitter. She's really interesting tweets she does. She's a filmmaker and she makes films, but there's possibly not quite what you'd expect, certainly not what I might expect. She makes films for women, sort of aimed at women, but they are essentially pornographic films. I don't know why I'm saying essentially. They're pornographic films. There's no essentialness about them. And I'm going to give her a lift to her mum's, which is all really good. It's absolutely fascinating. I have no idea what to expect. I think she's an absolutely fascinating person. She was very involved in feminism and censorship and the effects that censorship has on people. And I'm really intrigued to find out what this is going to be like. So please welcome into the passenger seat, Anna Arrowsmith. You're going to see your parents?
Yeah.
It's very nice.
Yeah, I've got to go there anyway. I'm 39 years old and I still keep some of my stuff at my parents' house, you know what I mean? We all do it.
They love that.
Like up in the, well no they don't.
Oh.
But boxes of, I've got loads of models of IDs that you have to duplicate things to keep them safe.
Right.
It's very important in the industry that you have, for instance, all the permission forms and IDs and stuff like that.
Oh, I see. If you keep them all in one place and then something happens to them.
And I've lost one or two of them, so I've got to go and try and find the others. So yeah, it's the first time I've ever had to do it in about sort of 12 years.
So look, because I did a little introduction just to say that you make films.
Yes, well that's vague.
Yeah, well, I said that.
It's the sort of thing I say to people at coffee meetings.
What do you do, Anna?
I make feminist films.
Make feminist films, exactly. Because it is such a... I'll just do it, because I've been sort of thinking about it. I didn't want to drone on, but my experience of the two subjects of pornography and feminism are highly fraught. I lived in a squat in London in the mid-70s with a number of feminists who were fantastic women, some of whom I still keep in touch with, whose attitude to pornography couldn't have been more negative.
Yes.
And there was this very short period where I had a copy of Men Only under my shoebox. I was the only heterosexual man in the building. And the guilt and anxiety and fear of having that magazine there was, I can't describe to you. And
it's funny actually, because I'm doing my PhD at the moment in gender studies, and I'm studying men's fears as well. So
it's my big one, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So yes, being found out. In the late 80s, you get feminism splitting in between pro and anti-pornography, and it's the subject that splits feminists more than anything else today.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah, but you have to sort of take a wider view of it, and you'll see actually on the shelves, for instance, that. Sussex Uni, where I'm at, that the vast majority of books, certainly the most recent 20 years, are all pro-porn within gender studies, and there are still some anti-porn people, but their arguments still from the 70s, they really haven't changed. Yeah, I know that some people, God knows I know that some women don't like it, but a lot of men don't as well. I mean, this is the thing, it's really not so much to do with gender, it's just it's whether it's your background, it's whether you're conservative or not, really, I think.
And would you say that conservative people don't like it, or they do like it?
Conservative with a small c, as in a lot of left-wing people are quite conservative about sex, aren't they?
Right,
so,
yes.
So that's small c, yeah. I think it takes all level. I mean, when I stood for the Lib Dems at the last election, and I found quite a few conservative people within the Lib Dems at the local level. Right. Not where I stood, actually, to be fair. The party was very good, and the Central Party was very good, but it's amazing. The point is that it's everywhere. And I remember when I first got in the industry, started shooting porn films in '98 when I graduated, and a guy said to me, he said, look, if you go to sex clubs, you will see it's just like any other group of people. There are conservative people, there are liberal people, and the people will argue, people that do rope play sort of go and say, those people over there, they're immoral, they're into spanking. And you're going,
they can make
how are you making sense of that in your mind?
Well,
you're like, surely if you walk through this door, you're a liberal. No? Okay, right, okay. And even the sort of anti-porn people can't really say what they used to say, which is like, porn stops women getting jobs and being ambitious and stuff like that, which they used to say. At least now they're a bit more specific. It's all part of what I do is fighting. And I used to be anti-porn years ago. that's kind of my first interest in it, was to be anti. And then I realised, I was walking down Old Compton Street in Soho when I was about 16.
Right.
And I realised that my anger was actually jealousy, and it was justified jealousy, that there was nothing for women.
Right.
I was just totally envious. There was there wasn't even the Chippendales then, which I later went on to write about and say how they're not really what women want. They're more, they're parody really than anything. Camaraderie as well. Women were in the late 80s. We're going to go, oh my God, there's sex. We can have sex, and so everyone goes, ah. But it's not really a turned-on experience.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't stand up for animal porn. I wouldn't stand up for child porn, because simply my line is consent, and you can't prove consent.
Yes, no, with an animal or a kid.
Yeah.
True.
But everything else I think is okay as long as it's got consent.
Yes.
But there's a lot of things I don't want to watch.
Yes.
There's an awful lot I don't want to watch.
Well, I think that, and I'm wondering whether that's an age thing now, because there's like, for me now, it is interesting as the years pass. The amount, what I want to watch is diminished enormously. It's very, God, I just go, oh no, thanks, love. I'll move on. It was porn that set up online trading, downloading for money, being paid, download to own video, all that stuff that other people struggle to. Porn's been doing that for years.
And it goes right back to 8mm tapes, actually, right back to and in fact, photography. If you go to the beginning of photography, one of the first things that get distributed is pornography.
Well, this takes a picture of a tree or a naked woman.
Yeah. Which can I make more money out? Yeah. So developing technology is a huge part of what the sort of debt that society owes to pornography. That's going to upset some people.
Oh, that's excellent. I like that. The debt that society owes pornography.
Yeah, and it's
you've got to write that article.
8mm film, VHS. The fact that it's VHS and not beta was because I think it was Sony wouldn't allow pornographic films to be made on beta.
Cold Betamax.
Yeah, and so you get the people buy players because they want to watch the films. Also CD-ROMs, DVDs.
Right.
All of these are coming forward at VOD, which is now being, the file sharing is killing the industry. Actually, it's terrible.
So yes, that's what I was trying to get to. Is that it's that kind of opening of that market has actually damaged the music industry, but has actually financially damaged the porn industry
very badly.
Right.
I mean, you ask yourself who's buying porn now. I mean, everybody's just, people think they can get it for free and they should get it. This is the worst thing, that people think they should, and they don't really. It's very short term. You can't really see that. Well, if there's no money in it, then there'll be no new stuff.
There'll be no new porn. There'll just be vintage porn.
Vintage stuff, which so I mean, people sort of say, well, you need to come up with new ways of marketing, but the thing is, the porn industry is exactly what we do. We're not Luddites, we are the cutting edge, and if we can't beat, you can't beat free, high quality, legal, you can't beat that's combination, all three together is exactly the perfect offering, so you can't beat that. So it has to be done through legal. I think people have got to be responsible about it, because otherwise porn stars won't get paid, we won't get paid, and there'll be no good stuff.
Well, you won't make anything.
No.
I mean, I suppose that's the thing.
Don't get me wrong, the democratisation of imagination and the body is another thing, another debt that society owes pornography, because we are the only genre that actually encourages different types of bodies.
Right.
And it's only that when the mainstream sort of documentaries and TV programmes represent porn, they show the sort of Jenna Jamesons, the pneumatic blondes, etc.
Right.
Actually, 50% of the market is amateur.
Right. Oh, right.
All around the world.
Right.
And it's everything. I mean, literally everything from, I always say to women, whatever you don't like about your body, put it into Google and put plus sex, and you'll find sites that find that as the most attractive thing about you, whether it's hairy or overweight or whatever.
Yeah.
Having one leg, literally anything.
No legs.
That's. I mean, we actually. I think actually you could almost say. I mean, I do research, and so I can't really say this, but I think it's worth asking the question about the link between women are encouraged to feel more attractive as they're older. You've got the whole sort of MILF thing, and women don't feel that they're redundant sexually at 30 years old anymore.
Yes.
And I think that's largely to do with pornography, encouraging MILF and GILF these days.
I don't know what GILF is.
Grandma.
Right, okay, that's another step, because I've just heard of cougar as well, which I didn't know.
It's an American term.
Is that because a lot of my son's mates are talking about she's a total cougar.
Yeah, that's the
I actually got, no, who was that? I got tweets about, someone I've done a carpool with, and they went, she's a total cougar. I don't know how women, because I don't want to tell, I do know it is, I've just remembered, I don't want to tell them in case they don't think they're old enough to be a cougar yet. Because I'm not sure what the age range of a cougar is.
Yes, exactly.
There was something in me that was telling me it's politically it's unjustifiable, it's exploiting women, because I always saw it as, criminally seedy men.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think
who were just basically, as they said, it's a $10 whore and a sofa. That was their industry, was based on that.
I think historically it was seedier. I think it's fair to say that it that comes from somewhere, and it was illegal. Remember, so you encourages people who are of a very sort of anti-establishment, which can be very, very positive, but also can be dodgy. And I think historically it was like that, but it's got extremely mainstream now, and in a way it's got very middle class as well, which is almost a shame. Really.
Right.
I mean, if you go to the behind the scenes of Television X, you're going to find a lot of young people with degrees in film and video,
right? Men
and women working just like any other job in TV. So it's completely changed.
And Television X, I'm not aware of that. Explain what that is. Is that a?
It's where I got my break actually.
Right.
In '99, I started making programs for them. It's a softcore channel.
Is it? If I go right down, would I find it?
It's the one where
I never.
Jackie Smith's husband got his video as well. Yeah, that one. And I was just hoping it was one of mine, but it wasn't.
Oh damn! The PR would have been excellent.
Yeah, it would have been.
Because I mean, that was always the thing that when I did have discussions about it with feminists, was that there's that there was this other flip side where that is such a classic example of a sad, lonely, unloved, probably not very attractive, maybe not very pleasant middle-aged man married to a powerful woman, and what does he do? He sits in front of his telly and knocks one out, looking at porn on his own, and he charges her, tries to claim it off the tax, whatever the hell it was. It was heartbreakingly tragic. I did feel sorry. I felt so sorry for him because I just thought that is the humiliation and the kind of everyone knowing that he's done that, and it's all so sad, and that was always my fear, was the kind of public, and therefore in a sense the negative impact of pornography was often on the viewer as opposed to the people involved in making it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's when you get inside the industry, you see the dynamics and how it works. And for instance, there's a lot of fan sites, there's a lot of a community of people, and this is why people want to be porn stars. I haven't advertised. I put one advert out when I first started in '98, but I haven't put one out
for people to work for you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I don't have to. I get 2, 3. Sometimes I get 2 or 3 a day, and I get 2 or 3 at least a week.
And is this men and women, or mainly women, or
probably 60% men, but 40%, definitely women, and a lot from India for some reason. I don't know why. There must be a site with me on in India. I don't know. I get a lot of Indian men.
Wow.
And the thing is, there's a whole side of it that people want to be porn stars because they want to be they want to be famous, and they want to be liked for being attractive, and they enjoy sex, and it's exhibitionist, this sort of thing.
Oh, I can understand that, the attraction of it, absolutely.
Yeah, and the thing is, the flip side of that is that you actually, as a viewer, you can actually go and contact the people that you fancy, and with the internet, you actually get to be able to speak to people.
Right, so that's right. Yes, that's different from the days of men only on the top shelf.
I think it has changed significantly because of the web. I mean, porn's changed mainly for the better. If it weren't for the fact that no one's paying for it, I say it was pretty much 100% positive. Right. And a few dodgy sites, of course. Yeah. But, I think the thing is that porn actually is a prop for society, in that there are people who are in relationships who may, if they didn't have access to pornography, may have affairs. Right. May use sex workers and feel really bad about it afterwards because they've actually sort of work with someone and feel guilty about that. Yeah. And so, but the thing is, the affairs and the or just generally feeling very sort of unable to express themselves sexually, and they're able to have this outlet. They can go on the web and actually talk to women if they want to.
Yeah.
And I had a guy email me who he'd had face cancer, and he had a marriage before, but then he got ill, and he felt that he just couldn't go and speak to women because obviously his face. And he said, literally, pornography saved my life. I was absolutely low, and I just felt it gave me an outlet to actually talk to women where I could actually interact with them without them looking at me, and stuff like this. But not, I mean, that's an extreme, if you like. But there's a lot of men who find talking to women very difficult, especially young guys, and the porn is a very good prop for that. And it also teaches them about the body as well, more so than they will anywhere else. But that's because there's bad sexual education. I'm starting up a site called WeConsent.org, which actually won't be out till August, but it's a site for starters, for people in the industry, really wide definition of the industry, from sort of prostitutes and porn stars to people like myself, sex academics, sex researchers, right the way through, to communicate with each other and network and stuff, and get support. Because the thing is, if you're in the industry, you get an absolute, I don't know, you get real negative stuff that you have to deal with. I got the idea because I did a debate against Gail Dimes and Shelley Lovin, who are just terrible anti-porn people, at Cambridge, and we won the debate, thank God. But the thing was that it just took me 6 weeks worth of research to get all the facts together and stuff like this, and it's really sort of harrowing to face this, makes it quite nerve-wracking. So I just thought, well, there needs to be a site with all of this information on it for anyone from the industry, but anyone outside, anyone that's a supporter as well, to go there. But the main thing is to have all of the info about there are lots of moral panics on at the moment, things to do with sexualisation of youth, addiction to pornography, or prostitution being trafficking, and all these things that are actually really based on bad science. And I just want to get all of the science together and just say this is what these studies show. For instance, there's one study that shows that the average age to start watching pornography, to come across pornography for the first time, actually hasn't changed in the last 20 years. And he thought, that seems like, oh, that must be wrong. It's the age 14. And it's because, like you say, in your day, when you came across pornography, it was in
about
your
14
home.
In my home from my brother.
It's magazines, it's VHS, it's DVDs. They're not there anymore because people are not buying. Those markets aren't there very much. There's not much of it. It's online, and if parents have the nanny stuff on it, it's actually more difficult to get hold of. But it kind of equals out at roughly about the same. Kids are,
by the time they're 14, they know how to work around the software blocks.
Exactly.
That pornography, I remember dumping it in that magazine in a bin on the Euston Road in London, convinced that someone was watching. I was so nervous, isn't it? It's extraordinary now. I look back and go, what the hell was that about? That was very extreme.
It was an important stage that I think feminism went through in the 70s. We had to kind of separate sex from the rest of life in order to say it's got separate rules, because back in the day, it's difficult to sort of think it now, but if you go and watch something like Life on Mars, as they called it, or something with the kind of 70s police and stuff, there was a culture where it was okay to pinch a woman's arse, about making comments about tits, and you just had to separate it out, and it was right that had to be kind of, men had to relearn it, and women. But now that has gone into like the massive consciousness. We now actually, women are starting to say we don't actually want to be treated as non-sexual beings. And it's all right to, it's about being subtler. It's about, you're okay to make jokes if I know you, or if it's done in a way that it's about having these different levels of cultural awareness. Everything's context. As a white man, you have a different context from a black woman, etc. The life you live in. So it has to be kind of with the consent of the person who you're having a laugh with, totally. But I think it's, the idea that women are supposed to be seen, that men can't mention sex at all, is actually the next barrier we've got to go through. We've got to learn to be much more subtler in the way that we deal with sex, because women want to talk about sex, and they like sex, and so it's okay, but that doesn't, you don't want to talk about it when you're in a job interview and stuff like this. There's context, everything's context.
I just go immediately start talking about sex.
A lot of parents don't want to talk to their kids about sex at all, and then they blame the media for giving impressions. The porn industry doesn't market itself for under 18s. You will never see that anyway. 2 reasons. One, because morally we think that would be wrong. But secondly, they don't have money, so why would we? They don't pay for it. So there's no, even if you thought we were all bad, there's no actual incentive.
Right.
And people blame sort of pornography because they're not willing to sort of frame it. They want to talk about sex to their kids and about what's right and wrong and stuff. And so that when porn comes along, it has such a big impact. But actually, we need compulsory sex education for a start.
Is it not compulsory in school? There's something, they get taught something.
They do get something. They don't get. It's not completely compulsory. And it needs to be more about media as well, understanding images. And condoms on bananas.
Put a condom on a banana, and then just please go away. Don't ask any more questions.
Don't ask any more difficult questions.
I want to know that then. But if you ever made it, if you don't want to answer, tell me to fuck off. But have you ever been in one of your films?
I haven't. No.
Right.
No, I've not made some personally, but not released one, done one professionally.
Right.
And several reasons. One, I'm not really exhibitionist in that way. It's funny, a lot of people that go behind the camera actually find it's like, it's the least likely place you're going to ever end up in front of the camera. If you're behind, it's the safest place. Although I do a lot of sort of TV interviews and stuff like that, I'm not as sort of outgoing as a lot of people are,
right.
Especially in that way. And it's funny because I've always been very relaxed about sex, never really had any problems with it, and that's why I do what I do. There's no, none of these stories. You're meant to have a history of abuse or anything like that.
Right.
I've always been sort of pretty okay about it. But going in front, and also I have to be honest that. I would feel I'd upset my mum and dad, and that's ridiculous.
Well, it isn't ridiculous in a way, because surely that is going to be the case for many people who are in them.
And I think, and that's why I respect porn stars, because they've done. I've done a lot of difficult things in my time. I've done difficult debates and stuck my head out running, becoming the first female porn director, but it was really hard, and it was difficult, it was scary. I was going to meetings where I just didn't know anybody and being taken off in a car and just thinking, oh my god, I hope this goes all right. And, I had to have a lot of guts when I first started. I just think that porn stars, the fact that they can just go, Mum, Dad, this is what I'm going to do, and I actually think that's extremely brave.
Yeah.
It was difficult enough for me to say, Mum, Dad, I'm going to be a pornographer, and it's a different type of.
So they know you do it.
My dad does. He's my company secretary. He does
He runs the books.
He does the books. Yeah, he's always done that. Bless him. He's always been very supportive. But there's a line. I've never showed any of my work. They've never come to any. The only thing they went to was my graduation day from St Martin's, where my mum and dad say that I told them on the journey towards the screening of the final films that I was shooting pornography. That was the time they told me. I swear I told them weeks before.
That's when they remember it. Yeah.
That's remember, but maybe I'm remembering it wrong. But yes, they turned up, and the look on my mum and dad's. I've actually got a photo of them walking out of the screening, looking rather.
So this was like a student film you made when you were at college.
Yeah, but it had sex.
Right.
Yeah. And it was the first thing I did, and I said sort of, this is what I want to do as a career.
Right.
And that was hard enough. And I think in a lot of ways it was harder than being a porn star as well, in that, you take a lot of society's negative thing on board, because people are saying you are the one that's manipulating people, you're the one
you're
that's
exploiting them.
So it's it's just a hard line thing in a way. With the porn stars, I just think they're stupid, which is insulting. But it was difficult. But I don't think I'd ever. There was a time I would have liked to have gone in front of the camera. I did say I possibly would do it one time, but I just didn't. And the thing was, it wasn't so much getting older. It was meeting my husband, meeting somebody to have a monogamous relationship with, and just choosing that life. You get into.
And I would assume that even the challenge of being accepted as a serious politician with when the media have access to that material would be just that little bit harder.
Just a little bit harder. We're wicked. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm going to get out just to turn everything off.
Okay.